you have firsthand experience with the role of government. So can you tell us a little bit more about what the role of the government is in regulating an AI?
So government is supposed to protect citizens, right? And maintain order. In a capitalist society like ours, where the free market is supposed to be free, there's a delicate balance there. Whenever the government sees that people, citizens, can be affected by technologies, that's where governments should step in. Let's just take election integrity, where our democracy has been through some tests in the past few years. The government has to step in to make sure that all this misinformation and disinformation and fake images and deep fakes doesn't affect our democracy and doesn't undermine our democracy and our trust in the democracy. That's one example. Another one is jobs. Like, this society can function because the majority of the working population is employed. And when people are employed, people are happy because they can go on vacation and they can take care of their families. But imagine mass unemployment, people in their prime, in their 20s and 30s, are not working. And what do? There's no tax revenue from, let's say, 20% of people who are not working. People don't have money. People are impatient and they're restless. That's a government issue. There's the privacy part too. All these large language models, they run on data, a lot of data. But what's a good limit to our data? How much data can they take from us without our consent, without copyright, right? There's already been lawsuits from comedians and from authors who say, hey, you took my work and you didn't compensate me for it. So those are things that the government has to regulate. Yeah, I'll stop there. But there's more. I can keep going.
I want to know more. You helped to lead the operationalization of the EU's Digital Services Act and UK's Online Safety Bill. How did this come about and what was the result?
So the EU Digital Services Act was passed. So the work that I did was looking at the policy and seeing how it's going to affect the platform itself. So working with others to ensure that the platform was compliant with all of the rules that this act demanded, right? That was my job. The UK Online Safety Bill is very much into protecting minors, protecting children and teenagers, ensuring that companies are not targeting them for advertising. They're not getting them like super early in their lives. It criminalizes fraudulent ads. It targets advertising quite a bit and tries to protect children more than any other demographic.
How does the EU and UK bill compare to the US bill or the US Digital Services and Safety Act? Do they look at each other to copy any regulation, any laws? Do they learn from each other?
The US always looks at the EU for this because the EU is the leader in these things. But yeah, there's a lot of synergies in there. Just like with GDPR, the EU is a leader in like privacy protection for people.
I wonder what they're doing in China. I read something briefly that they're also, I think maybe they have an even more stricter act or bill.
China is kind of like an equivalent to the US blueprint for AI. They have a similar thing. And that is very Chinese. They protect socialism in there. So it says that all the content has to respect socialism, right? They have to abide by the requirements and the regulations of the norms of, the socialist core values in the CCP. So you can kind of tell that it's very measured.
Are there global standards that are being established? Or do we see things going in that direction?
I don't want to say global standards because there's not a lot of participation from the global south, right? Except for India. India came up with their own blueprint. But the global south, like, it's so much bigger than just India. I don't see them being included in this conversation. So I wouldn't say global because then that would be unfair to the global south. I do see the West feeding off of each other and passing their own laws and regulations, but I wouldn't say there's like a global standard being developed. Things are moving really fast here in the US and maybe in China as well, but the rest of the world is not even at the table.
Do you think that that will force new technology companies to go south into those developing countries because things are, even though the infrastructure is not there, things are cheaper?
You know, I hadn't even thought about that at all. So
I think about that all the time because just a few months ago, I was producing for a big network and we couldn't afford a lot of the talent in the US and a lot of the resources in the US. So we had to go south to Latin America. I think that unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you're thinking from, everything that's happening around these technologies will push new markets and new territories, potentially in developing countries. I want to get into content more.
okay.
I really want to hear your thoughts about the future of content consumption. What impact do you think AI, generative AI, will have on how content will be made? I mean, we're seeing it already. It's just insane. I feel like I went on Instagram and already there's AI tools in there, even though there's been a lot of AI tools around for a while, but not so public and across so many platforms so quickly. What do you think the impact would be?
I believe that now, because it's so much easier to just type one word or one sentence and then let AI, let's say that ChatGPT or Bard write something for you, there's going to be an explosion of content. And I think there already is. Before, if you wanted to produce a good video or you wanted to produce a good article, you would hire someone so that they can do it for you. But now you have large language models that can do that for you for free. So now everyone is going to do more videos, right? Even LinkedIn, they incorporated generative AI so that you can just type one sentence and it writes the post for you. So I already see it. Now, is there going to be more quality content? No, I think it's going to be more quantity. But I think quality is going to go down because most people don't know how to make the content personalized. They just use the generic content that ChatGPT throws out and they just copy and paste it. I've seen it quite a bit. And it's going to lead to just like a downgrading of quality of content. But more content.
And now I do want to hear about how you think it's going to impact how we consume content.
I see two things. I see people that are more discerning being able to tell this is AI content. I want nothing to do with it. Oh, how disgusting. And I'm in that camp. I can tell because it's so generic. It makes me so angry. Like, oh, you want to comment on my post, but you don't even want to think for yourself. And then there's going to be people are like, they don't care as long as people are commenting on it and they're getting more views. They're fine. But I think it's going to divide people into two camps.
Are you optimistic that we can create safe or responsible AI in the future? Because right now we're not.
I think AI can help as well. It can help make the internet safer if we use it for that. It can help detect bad content. But save internet, it's a hard thing to do. I think there's always going to be bad actors and malicious actors. I think there's always going to be people producing content that is not good, that is, let's say, nudity or child exploitation or racist stuff. I don't think that there is in the end of history. A safe internet is equivalent to saying, oh, history ended. It's human nature. There's good people and there's bad people. So I just don't think that there is a point where we reach an internet utopia.
So what needs to be done to ensure AI is implemented in an inclusive and equitable manner?
A lot needs to be done. More people from diverse, when I say background, I mean it in every aspect. I mean it in a demographic aspect. We need more women, more minorities. We need the global South. We need Generation Z. We need millennials. We need boomers at the table. We need engineers, but we also need philosophers, and we need program managers and privacy specialists. We need cybersecurity specialists. We need parents and non-parents. And we need youth representatives, right? We need those people who are going to be more affected, the youth. So we need everyone to be having this conversation. We can't just let the 1%, the venture capitalists, make all of the decisions for us. The community needs to be involved in anything, in everything. And not just involved, but we need to have equal voices, not just like, oh, yeah, this community was here, but they didn't say anything. And their ideas were completely ignored. They have to be equally invested and able to speak their minds.
I love that. That's so important. Thank you for just sharing that. Do you foresee us moving in the direction of there being more guarded walls or more metrics? So, like, what do you see happening in the future to protect us?
I can see us trying to catch up, but unfortunately, I think we're always going to be a step behind the technology, and not because we're lazy or because we don't want to do it or we're dragging our feet, but because it just moves so fast, faster than anyone thought, faster than anyone can think. What people thought would take 2 years is taking like 3 months.
Well, with that said, how do we learn from the past and prepare for the future with AI?
I think we need a more educated populace, right? And I don't, by education, I don't mean going to college. By education, I mean inform. People need to stop burying their heads in the sand and wake up and educate themselves, at least understand the basics of AI and what it means for their future, for their children. Parents need to know what's happening at the schools. How are schools using AI? Schools need to make up their minds with regards to AI. Do we want to let students use ChatGPT or not? Do we get ahead of it or do we prohibit it knowing that they're probably going to use it anyway? Universities have to address AI. It's just everything has to shift. It's a paradigm shift, because if everyone can just type one sentence or topic and they can have their paper written for them, then how do we grade students? So it's just like everything has to change.
Mm-hmm. This has been an awesome conversation. I've really enjoyed hearing from you, learning from you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm always on LinkedIn, easy to find and to reach. Thank you for having me. And I appreciate giving me the space to speak up my mind.
Always, always. Thank you. Mwah. Cuídate. Estamos hablando. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias. Gracias a todos.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's our show. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us at The Media Machine Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. The Media Machine is hosted by Johanna Salazar. Our producers are Johanna Salazar, Mia Vinciguerra, and Anthony Martinez. Our editor is Gabriel Pareja. This episode features music from Envato Elements. Thanks for listening.